Now, let me turn it over to the two co-hosts for this session, Miko and Alicia, all yours.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate being here and talking to you all. My name is Miko Nino. I'm Director of Online Learning at UNC Pembroke. And I'm very excited of sharing the virtual stage with my great colleague, Dr. Alicia Johnson. Dr. Johnson.
Hi, it's wonderful to see everybody. I'm a visiting assistant professor in the School of Education at Virginia Tech.
Great. And today we have a small group here, but that's good. Sometimes it's not about the quantity, but the quality. So we can make this more informal, more conversational. So feel free to stop us along the way, type your comments, your questions as we discuss the showcase as an authentic tool for assessment, evaluation, and networking. And we started putting this presentation formally because we were doing, as partners, collaborators, Dr. Johnson and I, showcases individually as well. And it started just as a natural activity that we wanted to explore and to have, and to make the students feel that their work was being shared and seen. But as the more we did it, the more we started to observe the learning and all the cool things that were happening with learning during those showcases. And we are going to be sharing with you two specific instances, examples, in two different formats that we did. And before we get started, I want to hear from you. What do you think is a showcase? So if you can go to menti.com, you can use your cell phone, your tablet, your computer, go to pleasementi.com, and it's going to ask you for a code, and it's going to be the code at the top. Don't worry about the space. And I want you to tell me in one word and share with the rest of us, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when we say showcase? And there's no right or wrong answers. We want to know your ideas. What do you think of when we say showcase? Celebration, yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Polished. Yeah, you have to make sure it's polished for the big day. Audience, yes, you have an audience. Performance, yes. Impressive creation, yes. Great. All of you are right, yeah, you're spot on. Special, yes. Celebration, indeed. So several of you are saying celebration, that's why it's getting bigger. An audience. This is great. So think for a second. Don't you think that learning will be more effective and more powerful for your students if these elements are included in the learning experience? Don't you think that adding something that it's a celebration, that is special, that has an audience, that requires a performance, don't you think that adding that to the learning experience is positive? And that was a thought process that we were having. The students were having everything that you have mentioned here. So we wanted to start studying that in a more formal way. So this is great. Thank you so much for participating. And with that, we're going to continue with the presentation. So as I said, it started as something that Dr. Johnson, she has been teaching, and she wanted to have that as part of the courses at the end. I myself have launched initiatives and programs, and I wanted, as part of those communities of practice or ePortfolio implementation, to have something visible to increase awareness. But again, along the way, we were seeing the positive impact in the students, started like that. So the showcase, when you organize them and when you bring them to the classroom or to your programs, can be used, as the title of the presentation says, as an assessment, as an evaluation, and of course, as a networking tool. As an assessment, you can evaluate a prototype. We like to have a filter because somebody mentioned polish, and that's true. For the ePortfolio showcase or any showcase, it has to be polished for that audience. But it doesn't mean that you cannot start assessing the previous steps. So when we talk about assessment, it's a prototype. Before you can ask several prototypes before the big day, and all of that can be an assessment. Of course, the final product, whatever it is, a poster, a presentation, an ePortfolio, a digital game, those are examples of showcases, deliverables that we have used in the past. You can, in the case that you want to promote 21st century skills, sometimes in the classroom, we want to teach something beyond the subject matter expertise. We want to promote creativity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and we don't have mechanisms to do so. The showcase can allow you to do that. You can ask them to work in teams, so that's collaboration there. You can assess the delivery, being able to handle questions, being able to deliver a message to specific audiences. That's something that you can evaluate there as well. And of course, the reflection. The reflection is something that you can do more formative, but if you have not implemented that, you'll be surprised how much of a summative component you can have there. Sometimes the reflection is when we really witness that learning journey, that pathway, that process, that evolution that the students had. So when it comes to assessments, these are some things that you can actually add a score to when you are doing the showcase. And there are some others as well. Any others that you can think of that you could be assessing during a showcase? If you think about something, you can type it as well. In terms of evaluation, as we know, with evaluation, it's not necessarily putting a grade, putting a score, but it's looking at the history of events, at the whole experience, and then making a judgment about that. In evaluation, you can look at the process. We are going to show you in a couple slides the steps that you can follow to organize and the activities that require the showcase. It's not only the final event. There are a couple of things that happened before, and you can witness that process, and you can evaluate and see the evolution of the students through that process. It's really beautiful to see how much they grow, and you see the final product in the showcase, but it's really important to pay attention to the evolution. Reflection, you can use it as an assessment, but also if you want the students to evaluate and you want to evaluate the learning process, what they learned, the challenges they had, and if the project that you assign, if it's worth it, the reflection as an evaluation tool of a showcase can be very powerful. And we strongly believe in peer review. When you have the showcase, it's not only a moment for you and the students to reflect and to have a say in the evaluation process, but the peers, those who witness or share that learning journey with you, they can give you some tips and some ideas as well. I love that.
Dr. Nino?
Yeah.
Dr. Nino, Peter McClellan offered to us that you could assess communication skills because students will be creating their e-portfolios with an audience in mind.
Absolutely, and that's good. Sometimes the e-portfolio, and I speak from experience, stays there. We just have the e-portfolio. The showcase can allow you to take it to the next level. So how you showcase that to a potential employer, to the community, to other peers. So great, exactly. If you're focusing in the communication, the e-portfolio showcase or any showcase can help you. Great, excellent. So yeah, great idea. As a networking tool, and I'm huge into career e-portfolios and networking and career readiness, I believe, I'm speaking about the theme of this conference of equality and justice and designing for those things. Many students don't have networking opportunities and they don't have a professional net that can help them in the future. That's a given. So when we do these showcases, we invite experts, we invite potential employers, we invite subject matter experts, we invite key campus stakeholders. Sometimes they're coming as judges, because I have done the showcase as a competition. Sometimes it's just as part of the class, but you still invite them as guests, and they're there. You invite people with certain key positions on campus, connected to that, people who can provide insights to the students and who can appreciate what students have developed. Alumni can be people that you can invite to the showcases, community, members of the community, and again, subject matter experts. And this is an opportunity for those students who don't have access to a network, who don't have contacts for connecting in the future for a potential job. These are great opportunities to give that equality in a way, because you're giving all the students that opportunity. And one thing that for me, I have witnessed firsthand, is that many of these students in the showcases, they go on to be part of other activities, get paid to be panelists, or to be poster children for projects. One of the winners of the showcase is now doing an internship with me, and they're contacted thereafter by these people that you invite to the showcase. And that speaks volumes of the power that you have as a faculty member or as an administrator organizing the showcases, that you can give a chance to everyone to develop those professional networks. Any questions before we go to the gist? We're going to be talking about 2 specific case studies here, but before that, any questions or comments? No, okay. Well, this is
sorry. There is a comment from Kelly Driscoll. She says a showcase can be used as an opportunity for open critique, even before work is considered complete. A celebration of process, inquiry, iterations that might inform next steps and provide the students an opportunity to highlight their critical thinking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I like what you mentioned, the open critique even before work. So that's great. Sometimes students don't have that opportunity. So this is a great opportunity, like a great safe space arena to practice breaking that ice. Very good. And the showcase can serve many purposes. You can have a showcase with beginners. You can have a showcase with people ready for getting a job. It's never too early or never too late to have a showcase. The showcases that we're going to use as an example now, this is not the Bible. We're just speaking from experience. Actually, I would love to hear from you once we present these examples, because maybe you can give us some insights and we can make them even better. But everything that we're going to talk from this point on, we did. And we're going to explain the rationale for the choices. It's not necessarily that they were perfect choices, but there was a thought process that at the moment made sense for us. So I'm going to start with the first one we see, which is the UNCP EPICS Showcase. Here at the UNCP, we have the ePortfolio Initiative for Career Success. It's called EPICS. It's led by the Office of Online Learning. And basically, the idea is for students to create learning e-portfolios on campus, start documenting that learning, for faculty to promote learning through e-portfolios. But we want to make sure students have a model and a process that they can follow to revamp these learning e-portfolios into career e-portfolios. So that's the main goal. As you can imagine, when you have that goal in mind, the showcase is more career-oriented. So basically, what I wanted as a showcase is I started this program last year. And in another institution, I have done showcases. And I have seen that when you want to build awareness, when you want to increase numbers of users, when you want to actually have an opportunity to build that brand in people's mind, and you want your program to be part of the conversation, a showcase can really help you. So my goal was to create this competition for students to submit their e-portfolios. We offer guidance on how to create an e-portfolio. Keep in mind that this is an institution in which people had never heard of e-portfolios. People didn't know what was e-portfolios. So we had to be intentional about providing resources in preparation for that showcase. It was online, because we have lots of online students. I have done it face-to-face. And if you ask me, none of them is necessarily easier than the other. We might think that online is easier, but no, there are some challenges that you deal with online that you don't deal face-to-face. The one thing that I can tell you for sure is that online is cheaper, because when I have done it face-to-face, I had food and you have to book the room, and you save some money when it comes to online. That's the only thing that I say is the full advantage of online, saving in the food and booking the room and things like that. But other than that, it's not necessarily easier. If you have a big online population, you might want to consider online, because then you're going to reduce the pool. If you make it face-to-face, students are not going to travel just for a showcase, being realistic. So keep that in mind based on the population. I made it for 2 hours. We pick a Friday at 11 a.m. from 11 to 1. That really worked out well. I have done it in the evening, and sometimes the evening can be challenging, but so during the day too. So I suggest that you can do it in the evening, but if that doesn't work out, do it during lunchtime. Take advantage of that 12 to 1 hour and add maybe 1 hour before and after. That's just something that we have seen it works. If you have the cash, if you have the budget, make sure you can give a cash awards and add some gamification here. So I opened the call for undergrad and graduates to create an e-portfolio, to submit an e-portfolio. We had a pre-selection, and I'm going to explain those steps in a second. But the idea here was to have a competition. First place, $600. Second place, $400. Third place, $200. And trust me, money talks. And I'm not saying this is a real controversial part. Many people believe that learning is not about the money, it has to be intrinsic. And I agree 100%. But I have to also be frank with you, money talks. And when I do programs and no money, and I do programs for faculty or students with money, there's a difference in participation. So it's a little controversial. I'm not saying that that's a practice that necessarily everybody should follow, but if you have the ability, it really works. I invited 15 external judges to be part of this experience. Actually, Dr. Johnson here present was one of the judges. And these students were master's and undergrad students from all fields, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, all of them. And I invited 15 external judges from different industries: TV, education, business, technology. I invited e-portfolio experts, Dr. Tracy Penny-Lai, Helen Shen, they were part of that, Dr. Johnson here. I invited the head of the culinary arts program from a school, I mean, you name it. My rationale is the following. When you are looking for a job, sometimes the hiring manager, and in higher education, we have search committees. And the search committees are people from different departments. Not everybody that you have to convince to get that job are from your field. And it's easier to talk to somebody in your field, but it's quite a challenge to talk to people who are not necessarily connected to your field, who speak a different language, but yet you have to manage to convey the relevance of your work. And these are people that in the future, depending on where you want to go, are going to be your colleagues. So these students who went through this process met these 15 judges, and they automatically interacted with them and added them to their professional network. I talked to the judges, and I was very intentional about talk to the students, connect with them, make sure you include them in your network for the future. So I see there is a couple comments before I go to the next one. Epic fail. Okay, well, thank you. That's funny. Yeah, it was epic. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, good. So let's talk about the rules. So what we wanted, again, you can have a showcase for different levels. Mine was for beginners. So I asked for 5 artifacts because we wanted to just for them to get practice with that. And I told the judges, these are beginners. We were very intentional about curricular and co-curricular. We tell the students all the time, you do wonderful things outside the classroom. You play sports, you are in fraternities, sororities, in the marching band, you are in clubs, you do service, you travel abroad, and yet sometimes you don't document those things. And you might get your dream job by things that happen outside the classroom. And a well-grounded e-portfolio should also have documentation of the co-curricular. So that was part of the rules. You had to reflect, and we gave them specific questions that they had to answer. Again, they're beginners, so they don't know how to reflect. We have seen that when you don't give too much guidance, the reflections can be weak. So we gave them the reflection questions. We were very intentional that they had to demonstrate whatever they added as artifact had to be a clear demonstration of knowledge, skills, and abilities. And they had to tell the judges how that happened or why. And because we wanted to make sure it was uniform and we wanted to increase users with the platform, we used Canvas student e-portfolios, which before was known as Portfolio. For us, the tool is irrelevant. So maybe you have an e-portfolio program in which the tool, the technology is irrelevant. So maybe you don't worry about that. But if you want to promote the tool, you can make it as part of the rules. And it doesn't mean that forever they have to use the tool, but at least to keep it uniform for the showcase, they can use that one. So the showcase, it's like the last event, but there is a process along the way. So first you start with planning. What are your rules? How are you gonna plan this? How is gonna go, the format, the length, the day, all of that. After that, you have the announcement to everybody in every possible way. I pinned something in Starbucks. I was emailing faculty members, department chairs, every listserv on campus. There's a big digital display on campus. I had an announcement there in our website, social media. I could not advertise that enough. Then, because many students were beginners, I had open coaching sessions. Students could join us online and they could get help putting together these e-portfolios for the competition. And we gave some workshops on how to build an e-portfolio. So we prepared everybody to be ready for the submission. Then we had a pre-selection process because you can end up having hundreds of applications, and that's just simply not doable for a showcase. And when they know that there's going to be a pre-selection, they add more effort. We had a pre-selection. Those who didn't follow the rules automatically did not make it to the next round. For us, following the rules was very important. Maybe for you, it's not. It really depends on you. And we picked those strong cases because we wanted to build success stories. I wanted to have a campus-wide implementation, but I didn't have the budget to do so. So I had to start somewhere. And my idea was to use a showcase to build these success stories. Then after that, we announced a finalist, which for them is quite an honor when you make it to the last 10. We picked 10. And then I went for a coaching for finalists. I taught them how to, interview, how to have an elevator speech, how to showcase an e-portfolio online, all of those things. Then we market the big event, and that's when the judging happened, that last day of the actual showcase. But as you can see, there was a whole journey that they had to go through. So here are the stars, because that's the name that they deserve, stars of the showcase, the 10 finalists. And here are the wonderful judges who agreed to be part of this adventure, 15 of them from different industries. And here are the winners. First place on top, second to the left, third to the right. And the gentleman on the winner, he's in an art major. He's now doing an internship with us. So what they learn, and this is from asking me, the students, basically how to create an e-portfolio, how to reflect, how to be able to demonstrate knowledge, skills, and abilities. That's something that was challenging for them. Now they knew. Time management, project management, how to make sure everything was on time. Elevator speeches. I taught them how to, in 1 minute, they had to talk about the relevance of work, how to persuade an audience, how to convince that you have what it takes to be a winner. Professional dress code, that was part of the coaching session, how to interview online. And overall, they told me that they learned about themselves, the things that they had that they didn't know they had, and all the skills and all that process, because they have to think about the learning that they had happened so far. So yes, sounds just showcase, but all of this was part of that journey.
Thank you, Dr. Nino. Did anybody have any questions for Dr. Nino before we move on to the second case study? My experience. Well, you can please, anytime you want, add something to the chat.
Yeah, I'm gonna monitor the chat for you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
To Kelly in the chat, this, I wouldn't call this like an epic fail, but there were some learning curves that I think both me and my students went through in this process. This is for a course in the Instructional Design and Technology graduate program here at Virginia Tech. Particular semester, this past semester, fall semester, we started online, and then because the COVID numbers, and then we eventually moved to face-to-face. The goal of this course is to acclimate students quickly to our graduate program and to provide them with some foundational knowledge on instructional design technology, research, the design process. And a couple of weeks into it, I got an opportunity for students to create a product for the main association of our field, the Association of Educational Communication and Technology. There were these big banners that they wanted. They wanted to create 2 every year for the next like 3 years or 2, something like that, but leading up to their anniversary. So I thought this would be really exciting because, you know, like Dr. Nino was saying, there's always that back channel of knowledge with students to gain, the collaboration, you know, communication, creativity, problem solving. And I thought this would be a really good opportunity to allow them a chance to work together as a team to create a real product for the actual organization that all of them will probably be a member of. So we split up into 2 teams because they wanted 2 banners, and we went through the whole instructional design process together for the next several weeks. And it was really a wonderful program. And what I wanted to do was to not necessarily evaluate their product, because, you know, the product went through a series of, you know, iterations and reviews so that it would be acceptable for the organization. But I wanted them to get their first experience with portfolios. And so I was going to have this product experience be assessed through a portfolio showcase. They were going to showcase their portfolio entry for this project with 3 experts in the field. And I wanted it to make a good impression on them, because we do tell students, start your portfolios early, start documenting your learning and your skills from day 1. Because, you know, let's say you're getting your PhD 6-7 years later, you're not going to remember. If you're like me, I have Swiss cheese brain when I was done. You're not going to remember all the things you did. So we really suggest you collect them on the way. So I really wanted to make a good impression. So we're going to showcase their entries. I gave a demonstration on how to use the portfolio, which we were using at the time. I guess it's something else now, but basically it was an e-portfolio that students could use and take with them when they left. Because 3 of the experts that I contacted were in 3 different time zones, I was going to do something different and have this be done asynchronously. So we were going to give them a week to take a look at the students' portfolio entries, their product, and their reflections. Cool, thanks. All right, so the goal was at the end of that week that not only were the experts going to give feedback to the students, but also it was going to be peer reviewed. So I had 2 students that were still in the program, as well as the students in the class to give feedback to these students on their product and their reflection. And I didn't give them, like Dr. Nino did, kind of a list of questions that they should try to ask themselves in this reflection process. This is the epic fail part, right? I should have given them, you know, I guess a list of questions, not thinking this is their first semester as in a master's program, right, Kelly? It was the learning moment. So their first semester in their PhD program, their master's program, I would say 75% of our students are international students, right? And many of them, all of them in this instance, had never made a portfolio. And I was just like, oh, well, I think they're going to get it. I'll give them a demonstration in class, and then I'm just going to say, go for it. And I gave them, they had met Dr. Nino previously, and he had said, hey, if they want to ask me any questions or have me give any feedback, just have them contact me. So I gave them his contact information, and I was like, go. And 1 week later, this is what I saw, Kelly. 1 week later, headlines, the feedback that they got was like, their reflections were weak sauce, right? They didn't really explain or describe or show the knowledge that they had. They were really just saying, you know, hey, I did this project in class, or we made this and I did the Adobe work on it. They weren't really providing an opportunity to express the multiple skills that they gained or practiced during this project. So I was like, oh my gosh, how do I clean this up a little bit? I don't want to freak them out and say, oh, you guys don't know what you're doing. So what I said was, you know what, I think we need to practice a little bit more on the reflections. You guys did a great job. But the feedback from the people, which happen to be from this association, are letting us know that we've got to go in a little bit more depth. These are the people that are going to hire you when you graduate. These are the people that are going to read about the work that you've been doing for several years. So what I did was I changed the assessment for the class, right? For the, you know, this was an assessment for the project. I changed the assessment for the class. If it's on the next slide or not. Instead of a paper, I had them do a broader reflection. Okay. And Kelly, I agree with you. The fact that they got feedback from outside was perfect, you know, for me. They really take that seriously. Not like they don't take me seriously, but I'm more like, you know, their mom sometimes. They really took this seriously. So I asked them to reflect on it in this larger kind of perspective. All of them provided me with, you know, 1 to 2 pages of deeply thoughtful reflection at this point. They totally got it. They listed several ways that they learned from the experience, how it came in before the project, what they learned after the project, what ways they participated. And it was wonderful. And I was able to share these again informally with experts who, by the way, reached out to 2 of them and offered them internships for this year's conference. And it actually turned out really great. But I kind of had this this moment, the deer in the headlight moments. I was in the headlights and they're in the headlights, but it's really work out. And like you said, Kelly, I can share these again. We got invited back by the association to do this for 2 more years. So this year's class and next year's class are going to create the other 4 giant posters for their 100-year anniversary. And it just turned out to be a perfect opportunity to run through the whole design process while teaching them the history and talking about research and acclimating them to the program. So lessons learned. The students, I think, have a great handle on the importance of the portfolio, and I incorporate a portfolio entry into every one of my project classes. So they need more than just this one bit of exposure. I do it again and again and again. And the asynchronous was something I hadn't tried, but in order for them to get access to these experts, it was necessary and it worked out great. You know, my reflection is don't be afraid to try something new. And if you're understanding with your students, they're going to be understanding with you. And we kind of held hands and walked through the rest of this together. That's really all I want to say before I ask if anybody has any questions.
There is a question here, and that's an excellent question from Dan. He asked me if Canvas it's the only option. So let me tell you what's happened. Canvas had something called Canvas ePortfolios. What happened was that later on they bought Portfolium and they got rid of Canvas ePortfolios. And I agree that they were not really good. I never used Canvas Portfolios, what they had before. I'm using now the current instance, which before was called Portfolium. Does that make sense? Yeah, I wanted to clarify that, because if before you explore Canvas portfolios, yeah, they were not good, but the current ones, it's now Portfolio, what Portfolio was considered before. And as I said, if you still don't like any Canvas instances, I have seen that Weebly and Google Sites are really good, especially Google Sites. If you want to use another technology, I will encourage using that one. It's very easy to use. The education, yeah, it's good too. Yeah.
If
I
you
mean,
all have suggestions, please share them. If you have
yeah,
suggestions.
absolutely.
So are you saying that they've updated the ePortfolio on Canvas now?
Yes, and it looks, if you want, real quick, while we see other questions, I'm gonna share with you my screen again from that instance so you can see the difference. That's okay for a moment while we get the other questions.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
When you are in Canvas, this is for you who are in Canvas schools. Before, when you came here to your account, there was something called Canvas ePortfolios, but now it's called Folio. And when you click in Folio, it's gonna take you to this part, but it's basically a different instance. Looks different on me because I already have it. But it's called Portfolio. It was what Portfolio was before.
Yes.
And it
Very,
looks
very
like
good.
this.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much
it's-
for that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's this. So I'm very glad that they acquired, that they bought Portfolio, because that has been my all-time favorite tool. Absolutely. So any other questions or comments?
Well, I think Christina suggested, Kathy Yancey's collection of Rhetoric of Reflection as a source for teaching reflection, and I think it's a great idea to, like Miko drilled into those students, how to put the best foot forward. For me, I didn't really mind having this learning opportunity. I mean, part of me did, but any type of disruption in what people think they know, and when they discover that they don't know something, that disequilibrium sometimes really guides them into a deeper desire for knowledge. And having something, this tool that Christina suggested makes it makes sense. So thank you. I don't know if there was any.
Yeah, the name now is Canvas Student ePortfolios. And I think the challenging part, Catherine, it's that it's gonna be, people are gonna think is the older instance. So yeah. Yeah, reflection is that you're absolutely. So again, the showcase is a good moment. And if you are teaching one class, you can do it course level. We have done a showcase at the course level, program level. You can do it as a campus initiative. You can have it, making it a call for, if you want to do ePortfolios, a general call or whatever skill, service. That's the part that is fun. You can customize it as you wish. Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Johnson and I, we are always happy to talk to other schools and students and faculty about the ePortfolio.
Well, we could mention face-to-face, our in-person one that we did together, because it is different. I mean, there was the synchronous online that you did, and then the asynchronous one that I did, and then the one that we had where we just invited, like you said, it was there was some food, and we worked at the same university. Dr. Nino always said, if you bring food, they will come, and and he was so right. It really it brings. But it was very simple. There was the food there, but we just had computers scattered around and students scattered around, and people just came up and took a look at their learning module that they had created about ePortfolios. And it was wonderful, a wonderful experience for the students. The news, the university news came in and took some pictures. And I think even from that event, there's still a picture of ear-to-ear grin talking to somebody. And I think the School of Ed still uses that on their website because it was such a sincere, like, this is amazing. And they loved it. We did a focus group afterwards with the students, and they felt like they shined. They felt like they polished everything to the best of their abilities, knowing that it was going to be put in front of a variety of, such a diverse audience there at the university library. It was wonderful.
Absolutely. We had a DJ, we had food. Students told me we felt, because we have done a couple there at the libraries, that they felt that they were walking into the Grammys because their pictures and their names were being displayed, the finalists, on the screen. And being a finalist was quite a big deal because they knew they went through a filter before. In terms of length, don't make them too long. I made my very first showcase, I made it for 3 hours, and it was too long. And I made a mistake of announcing the winners by the end of the second hour. And right when I did that, everybody left. So might as well make sure that when you announce the winners, that's gonna be it. Nobody's gonna care after. So leave it for the very last moment.
Yeah, I mean, all of it's kind of live and learn, but I think the idea here is that, go ahead, and it's worth it. It's worth it to take the risk to just help your students put themselves out there. It's getting harder and harder for students to find work after they graduate. It's a broader pool. They're having to really, kind of shine brighter than a lot of other people, and helping them do that through these experiences. I think, I know it will pay off. Many of my students that have gone out and gotten work after they graduated tell me that that people look at their portfolio. One student said that the recording of him doing a presentation for faculty that he included in his portfolio is what got him his instructional design job at a university in California. He was absolutely sure of it because he didn't just tell them, and I know how to give presentations, he actually had clips of himself and his screenshots giving presentation to international group of faculty, and to be able to show them is pretty magical. So I love portfolios and giving students an opportunity and working it into an assessment where there's some points involved, some grading. That's a good idea too.
Yeah, there is a student that I mentored that he's working now with Adidas. And even though that e-portfolio was not a requirement, he was one of the finalists and winners of the showcase in another institution, and he got the job. And he told me that he felt that when he came to the interview, because they had seen the e-portfolio before, they knew about his abilities, and the conversation was more focused. It was beyond just breaking the ice. And he gained that experience of showcasing and through the showcase. So it really has an impact when it comes to career. It's a perfect bridge between all that learning that they have, all that learning journey, and the job that they want. Sometimes we don't have mechanisms to make those connections, and we believe that a showcase can help you do that.
I can. And talking to multiple people. I have a friend who's going through an interview process, and she's interviewed with a group of people, the same group of people 4 times now. There's one more meeting talking to these people and answering questions. And I don't know if that's the norm. Seemed kind of weird to me, but if that's the skill that people need, talking to people again and again, answering questions, explaining yourself, explaining your skills, this will do the trick. This will help the students be prepared.
Yeah. And Kelly, that's a good point. If you want to convince your administration to give you the funds and to pay attention to the e-portfolio program, start building success stories. And one of the fastest way and most effective way is the showcase. Completely agree. Yeah. So we have 3 minutes left. Anything else? Any comments? Any thoughts? Questions? Well, here's our contact information. Dr. Johnson, thank you so much for joining. Always a pleasure sharing the
Thank you,
virtual
Dr.
space
Nina.
with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have done this for quite some time now. And we're happy to share with all of you our wins, fails, challenges. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it.
Thank you
I
all
wanna-
for attending. It was wonderful.
Yes, thank you, Miko and Alicia, for a wonderful presentation. And folks, hope you enjoy the rest of the day. You've got an extra couple minutes.